Welcome back to the Triple J Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Phil Rasmussen, and I am excited to introduce today's guest for episode number 9, Fowzi Abdelsamad. Fowzi is an LA product, born in Saudi Arabia, moved out here and grew up, went to Fairfax High School before he and I ended up becoming teammates at UC Davis. Fowzi is the equivalent to a basketball gym rat, basketball junkie, breathed the game of basketball, and I think it's going to be really fun for the audience to get his perspective, his take, and how he dealt with coaching and his mindset and the way that he approached everything, because he, to me, correlates to what the top tier salespeople or your top performer in any organization, on any team, generally thinks like, which is they love what they do and they have a one-track mind about accomplishing something, in this case, basketball. And so when we laugh and we reminisce about different things, you'll notice Fowzi's mindset came back to playing basketball, winning and competing and getting better. And so he had a very different approach to how he dealt with some of the things that we talk about, which always have admired, always have respected. And I think he really reflects the importance of leaders and coaches recognizing where people are coming from and not misrepresenting or mistaking a top performer that maybe doesn't need some of the same parameters and guardrails that you generally will create as a leader or a coach. He's your artistic savant. I probably should have put on shades to try to match the cool swagger that Fowzi carries himself with. But after a 4-year professional basketball career following his time at UC Davis, he's a producer, director, and screenwriter in the Hollywood industry, and has a number of awesome projects already to his name. He and I are actually in the process of working on a project together that I'm super excited about. So I hope you all really enjoy this episode. Appreciate my boy doing it, and hope you all enjoy the episode. Let's roll. Welcome back to the Triple J Sports Podcast. We're back with our guest today, Fowzi Abdelsamad, a UC Davis and LA legend, and now an active producer, director, and screenwriter in Hollywood. So, Fuzz, thanks for joining the show, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
I have to add an additional thanks, knowing that you're fresh off a 2-month-old little baby, keeping you from catching any sort of reasonable sleep. So, if you fall asleep mid episode, I won't knock you, man. I'm 3 in. I know how that goes.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. It's a possibility, mate.
Absolutely, dude. Congrats on that, bro. I am super proud of you. So,
Thanks.
well, let's jump in, dude. It's been a minute. Like, let's start all the way kind of back at the beginning. You're an LA product, SoCal legend that wound up at a school where we overlap. But tell us in the audience a little bit about where you grew up, your kind of high school hoops background, and we'll start there.
Okay, so I mean, I was born in Saudi Arabia, and I moved out here when I was about three-ish, 3.5, something like that. And so I'm at heart. I'm like LA raised, and about 5 years old, basketball hit me when my dad was watching some basketball. I saw MJ and that was it. So I just stuck to it. And my mom got me into leagues. Eventually, as time passed, she saw that I was getting better and I saw myself getting better as well. And so did other people. So at one point when I was in junior high, somebody from the traveling team who was close to Fairfax was kind of hyping up, you should go to Fairfax, give it a try or whatever. It just so happens that I was not that far I didn't live that far from Fairfax, so it almost ended. In reality, it was like the school I was supposed to go to in distance wise, the way they ran it back in the day. And so when I went there, I tried out. I didn't know anything, so I tried out for freshman since I was a freshman, and then right away, the coach Harvey Katani was watching. He's a head coach over there. Was a head coach for a very long time. He pulled me aside. Was like, "Try out for JV. You're ahead here." So JV for a year, then sophomore year, I just gradually went like this over there. So and it was cool because he kind of saw the progression and gave me a chance. So I was at varsity since sophomore on a loaded team of players who went D1 and stuff, and I didn't really get a chance till my junior year when traveling ball a lot of people saw what I could do outside of just running generic point guard position, which Fairfax needed because the wings and everybody else was so damn talented. Like there wasn't enough shots.
Who were some of
I
those
w-
guys on that squad?
Oh, I had players like I got a wing, Jason Morris, that was dope. A wing like Evan Burns, who was super talented. Craig Smith, Joe Ship. It was just talent everywhere.
Yep,
And
Fairfax
so
was
I
always
was just a
loaded.
yeah, I was just a super role player, played defense. If I was open, go ahead, take it. Um, and then I started really popping off maybe my senior year, but most of my damage was done in AAU ball. And that's where a lot of people got a chance to see what I can really do because of the freedom. But yeah, Fairfax was it. But shout out to ARC, Belmont Shore. Dino was one of the guys who was running a bunch of that. Gave me a chance in a lot of those spaces, so I got to shine. And then as well as going to those double pump camps and all that, I got a chance to shine out there too. So that's that's pretty much where I feel at the start. That's where I was getting all the looks and stuff like that. The letters started coming in, and UC Davis happened to be one of them, along with a bunch of others, but they stayed hella consistent throughout the process. And then I think my coach felt that that was the way to go. And I think he was kind of like pushed me towards that way because I was just like, even in high school, like I did the schoolwork and stuff like that. I was, I got straight A's. So I guess he felt like, yo, that's the educational school, student athlete, not knowing that, I kind of wanted to go beyond in basketball, not just like, all right,
Yep.
just gonna use it for a scholarship. So there could have been lapse in communication there and there with him, but I mean, just going out there, the guy who recruited me ended up not even being there when I got there, but everybody else that I met on the recruiting trip, which was fun, were super cool, man. It's like some grown people. I was a small dude at that point, and the way I saw them, how built they were, it was like, damn, it's like you guys are like, just hella like thick but still fast, kind of. But
Grown
yeah,
men, like grown man strength starting to fill
yeah,
in, right?
yeah. And I was just more wiry and fast, kind of built like AI, but 6'2", like, large, just skinny. But, it was cool. It was cool, going in there with Brian Fogel and everybody over there. Kevin Nosek was a cool assistant coach there. That's how I ended up over there, really.
So then you started your career there. I remember when I transferred in and I was deciding where to go. I remember watching you guys play, which would have been your sophomore year, Dom Calori's senior year, Danny Workman and those guys, and watching you show out in that offense and be somebody that, from my perspective, you're definitely one of those guys that were always D1 caliber, right? And like in every situation, it's always talent meets opportunity meets timing for everybody. You naturally transition. As a matter of fact, off camera, we were watching some highlights of you doing just damage against Stanford. Um, so I
Right.
know when I met there, right, like watching you, like, one of the things that I think is kind of cool and I want to ask you is, I mean, you to me define what the love of basketball really is all about. Like, you were a guy that would be in the gym all the time. We'd have practice, we'd go through some pretty grueling workouts, and then I'd see you over at the rec playing pickup with, like 12 kids that probably shouldn't have been out there
Yeah.
with, but you love to hoop. So talk about like that, what the love of basketball and the game has been for you in terms of just being a centerpiece of what your whole life has been about. Because that for me is the defining thing that I always saw in you.
It was a sense of kind of, freedom for me because, I'm somewhat of an introvert. Like once you get to know me, I'll open up, we'll joke around, but there's some layers to get through before I'm like, here you go. But with basketball, I was kind of able to just express right away. So I always loved that. And then, and then the reactions of people when I look unassuming at first, or I look a little smaller than some people or whatever, and then they see me do what I do, then just getting their reactions too is kind of fun. But like going to school and then being away from my family for the first time for a long period of time, I didn't really, I didn't care about school at that point as much as I should have. And I was just in the gym. And then at some point, I think early on, like my freshman year, uh, I think somebody on the coaching staff saw me there and asked me like, why are you doing this or why are you playing so much and da da da. And it was just like it's a silly question to me, but I had to answer it probably. I forgot what I said, but it was like, oh, am I in trouble for playing too much? But I still just kept going and going, and I just kept getting better. And and not to disrespect anybody over there early on, I didn't feel like I was getting better. So the only way I could do that is getting more reps, challenging myself, playing against different people. Because there was a lot of really good ballers that came up to the school too, like from Sacramento, and it wasn't just the students. And especially at Hickey Gym, small gym, they used to hooping over there. It was crazy. Um, but it was just a matter of, well, I like the offense. Everything's cool, especially early on my freshman year. I was just like, we're doing the same every day. And I was just like, we're not getting better. And it was just bothering me. I was like, aren't we supposed to go like this? You know? And then it was like, oh, but nobody, they're not really planning beyond here, possibly. And therefore, that's why they're here. And so that's when I was like, oh man, so I got to get more reps. So at least I'm ready when they call my name if I get any minutes or whatever. So I shock them and get more minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, basketball was just a fun escape, like all day, every day.
My introduction to you was super impressed with your ability. I've talked about this on the pod before. I had been told for 18 months of college, get bigger, get stronger, because like you, I was a skinny, not so strong twig that could shoot and play. But weight was my thing. So I put on like 15 pounds after an ankle injury and I was pretty stoked. But then Coach Stewart takes over and it's nothing but conditioning, which was certainly not a good situation for me at that time. I was not prepared, but we did a lot of interesting workouts. And one of our teammates mentioned when we
Mhm.
were remembering our 5 a.m. workouts, and he wanted me to give you a hard time about what it is you pulled to get out of all the swimming workouts at 5 a.m. when we were all in the pool at like what pitch black dark. We were grinding, but somehow you pulled something to get out of the swimming workouts. And to your point, some of the stuff we were doing, we all joked like, "What is this actually for? How is this
Yeah,
helping us play basketball? We're not, I'm not a water polo player.
right.
I don't want to be." Um, so I'd love to have maybe a little insight in how you handled it because, most of us, we were all too afraid to buck the trend, but you managed to buck the pool. And so I'd love to find out 20 years later, what was the foundation of getting out of the swimming workouts?
That right there is funny you say that because before Stewart, I believe Fogel was doing those workouts too. And there's a deeper end of the pool. Like I can't swim. I can kind of swim, like, but the mental part of it being deep, I can't. So at first, Fogel didn't believe it, but I was like, nah, man, I'm not getting in the pool. I can't. It's like, all right. So they made it cool for me to stay more in the lower end and kind of do like go up and back, doing whatever slides. With Stewart, I said the exact same thing. And then I mean, I never got in the pool with Stewart.
No, you would get in, but like my vision, I
Yeah, but I
almost thought
was
about it.
like,
You had floaties and like a paddleboard on the side,
yeah,
which
yeah, man, that
which if
was
we're being real, that's what I see my daughter all the time, and I'm like, that just reminds me of Fauzi in the pool when all I want. I mean, let's be honest, I was jealous because I really wanted to be where you were with what we were doing. But yeah, I remember paddleboard and floaty devices on
it
the
was
side.
completely honest, man. I was like,
Yeah,
I'm not getting in the deep end, man. Like I can't swim like that.
love it.
You guys are all dope. Like I can't do it. I don't give a like go ahead and give me the floaties. I don't care what it looked like. And then you guys went through some crazy because I'm looking at y'all like, dang, man.
Yes, sir.
Y'all some water polo folks, man. There ain't no way I could do that. Like, all right, I'll just be over here kicking away with this, holding on to this little boy. This bit.
Yeah, it's the memory of that instantly when I brought it up. He was like tell him we're all still mad at him for finding a way out of those swim workouts.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Like,
No, but like, you're getting away from the joke on that part that's funny. Like you had an ability to get in and play the game. And I think, when I talk a lot about coaching and translating it to like coaches that are able to coach guys based on where they are and who they
mm,
are, I look at myself, I didn't think it made sense to be in the pool doing what we were doing. I just did it. Um, but I think like to that point, like who you were, it didn't affect you being able to go out and play basketball, right? And if you look at kind of the things that we went through and did, ultimately them figuring out how to support you and navigate you, like that's really one of the best lessons that coaches can learn. At the end of the day, you were ready to hoop and you showed up to play basketball. And, I
like,
think all of us that were around, like we joke about now the pool and all that, but one thing we all knew is you were going to show up and you were going to play. Like you were going to hoop and you were going to, be fearless and play basketball. And, for coaches and leaders in life at the end of the day, getting us back on the court to go win games. And, look at your career and the games we played. You started as a Division II school that transitioned to Division I, and pretty much we played 1 year together in the CC2A. You were a dominant guard. Then
mm.
you had a tremendous senior year at the Division I level, and like I said, had huge games. What was your mentality as a player when it came to showing up for practice, showing up for games, define kind of just your mindset?
But when it came to practice, like, we gotta remember anything that deals with basketball, especially being on the court, I'm all for it. So it's only heightened when I'm with my team, and there's the camaraderie, there's the jokes and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, once we get on the court, like, I really want to cook you. Like, and it has nothing to do with I want to show off to the coaches or make you look bad, whatever. It was like you're either gonna respond against me or you're just gonna let me keep cooking you. And some people reacted the right way. Other people, sometimes the coaches would jump on them, and then it's more about what the coach said to them that kind of them up versus just get at me because practice is supposed to be harder than the games. And when we practice, I just loved practice, man. Like it was to be able to do all those reps, to have those little talks on the side, all the jokes, like you can't do that during the game, like really serious unless it's a blowout or whatever. And it was also, you guys know me. You guys know how I play. You guys will eventually find out how to guard me or at least make it more difficult. And so I took that as every day they're learning how to guard me. I got to do something else. I got to learn something else. And therefore coming off screens differently because they know just because I went up twice, they're going to gamble and go back, go this way because they know I'm going to go this way for the third time and they'll catch me. It's like a cool back and forth that I was enjoying with the team every day. It was just fun. The most fun was when the coach would give us those scenarios where it's like, all right, 5 minutes left,
Mhm.
down by three, white and blue, and get at it. You know what I'm saying? And we had to like battle that out. And then as well as like the one-on-ones where you score here, go down court, score here. Um, all of that was fun, man. And then seeing people get frustrated and seeing how they react. I don't know if he remembers Ryan Schwartz. I was up in his one day at the wing, putting a whole lot of pressure on him, tracing the ball and everything. And he's like 6'8", something like that.
Yep, 6'8", big dude.
And I did that a couple of times. And I love him too. He's a funny dude. Like we all good. Like he got so frustrated at one point. One of the reps, when I came up, he came low and rib shot right here, took the wind out of me. I hit the floor. And I just got up like, oh man, that's all right. It's
Yep.
like I get it. But it was like that was cool. Like that kind of stuff is like, all right, he kind of fought back because he was letting me get all over his for a few reps. And then he said, no, get off. I'm like, now I don't want to feel that again. So it was just those fun times that we had, man. And you lighting it up whenever, getting hype off of that, getting hype off GK too. Because they ran our legs so hard, dunking was ridiculous during the season.
Yeah.
Don't even ask to come down the lane and even try anything. Like JK might have been the only one that really did something, maybe Ryan,
I think
but
I had 1 or 2 in my whole
you
career there. That was it, and I had a lot of bounce in the off season, but when once we started those, it took all of it away from me.
yo, side note, one of my favorite times with you. I don't know if you remember, we was in Hickey Gym and it was the off season. It was summertime, I think. Uh we were just training and we were trying to see how well we can flush the ball.
Yeah,
And
no
we just
leave the
go
no
up
touching of the rim.
like this. And we kept doing it over and over and over. And I can't remember the last time I had bounties like that at Davis. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because it was the off season, our legs were fresh. Like nobody sees this. Like this dunking was easy. And but during the season, you want to put us on the track, you want to put us here, you want to put us there. You know.
Yeah, it
That,
was it
you
was
know.
interesting. It was like it was its own challenge. I find it interesting when I look at it, right? Like, I figured out how to just make the most success out of any situation, right? And I think I took a
Mhm.
lot in life from those times. I think if we were having, like, a candid conversation, I can remember sometimes at shoot around, we're playing in like 3 hours and we're running suicides till we drop. And I'm like, we're supposed to play 7 o'clock tip off. I'd like to have legs tonight. I'd like to make some shots and win the game. What you talk about as far as competition, if you could put me in a gym and let's just play basketball and compete and figure out how to win, that's fun. When we're going to run suicides for 35 minutes, I'm not really enjoying this. It's not really hoops, but it just became a part of our world. You had an ability that I've always admired. You would turn the page and get into it. And I think that's why I refer to your love of the game, right? Is that no matter what was going on around you, you were able to channel back to the idea we're playing basketball now. And, getting through
Right.
that other stuff, I think at times, like for me, by the time we finished the conditioning, I was like, I'm done. I'm burnt. But, looking back on the years, we were tough and we certainly built like shared adversity in a way where we had a core group where we went to war together against teams and we had a great first year together. What what are some of your favorite memories as far as some of the games in your college career? Funny moments, stories, things with coaches, teammates that really stick out to you, 20 some odd years later, you still can recall like they were yesterday?
I'd say traveling with the guys, with the team, that was always cool. I remember one time he had us wear suits, right?
Everywhere we went, yep.
Yeah. And I felt some type of way about that. I was like, come on, man.
Speak your truth,
I
bro.
get
Speak
it.
your
I get
truth.
I get it, but it's like, come on, right? As a matter of fact, before I get get back to that point, I told Stu wanted me to be clean shaven. And I went into the office to talk to him. I was like, I'm not taking this off. It's like, that's not
That's
gonna make us play
right.
better. It's
You
not gonna make
you
me play
bodied
better.
him on that. You kept
Yeah.
it. How did you
I
body
was
him?
like, it makes no sense. Why is it gonna change how I play? Like, what does it matter if I have a goatee? What does it matter if any of us got whatever we want? Like, if we're hoping, it took it away from basketball. You feel me? So that bothered me. I was like, nah, I gotta talk to him about this. I ain't cutting this off. Crazy. So talk to him. He's like, all right, good talk. All right, you convinced me. All right, thank you. So I left. So like, how clean shaven, like military type. I was like, nah, man, this is all the personalities that we all have as hoopers, as people off the court as well. We should be able to, express that through basketball, which is a form of art, and you can't even allow that. And that hit different when he said, "Oh, you got to take that off." It's like,
Like,
yo,
not different enough for you not to body your way into being the one that bucked the rule. That I had forgotten about that, but now as soon as you said it, I'm like, "That's right. You're the one." And I he used to give me a hard time anytime I would show up with, like, a 5 o'clock shadow. I'd shave in the morning, and he'd be like, "Why are you shaving?" I was like, "I shaved at 7 a.m., coach. What do you want me to do?"
you did some good things, but come on, that was just wild.
That's funny, dude. I forgot.
Yeah,
You were
you know? Can't wear
that's awesome.
undershirts. That was another thing. Like, you can't wear undershirt under your jersey. Like, come on, man. It does let us kinda just be. You feel me? We're taking your orders on the court, running around off the court, on tracks and let us just express on the court and, you know,
Yeah,
I don't know if it
hooping.
changed after I left or whatever, but,
We
uh,
got on shirts. I don't think the facial hair ever changed, at least I think it did after I was gone, not while I was there. So,
yeah,
probably why I have a beard permanently is because I was so tired of being told I couldn't have one for all those years.
that makes sense,
But
yeah.
the suits is funny. I don't know where you were going with that with the suits.
Oh, yeah, the suits. So I don't know if I saw you in the parking lot or we were walking up, and I did a terrible job tying my tie. And you're like, "Yo," you were like, "Come on, man. Like, you don't know how to tie a tie?" And I was like, "Phil, everybody Phil tied my tie. Like, my first real tie, he just tied it on me. This is how you do it." I remember it now. That's how I learned how to tie a tie, really. 'Cause I wasn't wearing ties like that till then. So,
That's
uh,
right.
I remember that day. I was like, "Yeah, it's a little embarrassing," but you put it all nice, and
My
there you
boy,
go.
man. We gotta
Like,
make him
"Thank
look
you,
sharp.
man. Thank you for that." That was cool. I remember that. That was cool.
Dude,
I remember
you know what that reminds me of, Fauzi? I honestly had kind of forgotten, and at least, thus far, but the suits. So to the audience, right, we traveled everywhere in suits, which for the most part, a bunch of kids our age are wearing suits that don't properly fit. Let's just like most of the time, right? They're baggier, but we were trying to look sharp. But uh, our first year together, big part of why my grill is the way it is I had had my teeth knocked out a number of times. But you just reminded me of the game we played at UC San Diego, where I dove on the floor and the guy dove on top and he crushed and knocked my teeth out.
oh,
And so then I finished the game with no teeth, like both of my front teeth gone, just like nubs that were the shattered bits left. And then we traveled in our suits and I had no front teeth. So I remember spending an entire weekend with you guys clowning, being in a full suit, shirt, tie, but looking like a hockey player with just a busted grill. And that whole
I
trip in
forgot about that.
Arizona, we went to Grand Canyon and played at Grand Canyon. So we had to go to the airport, ride on public buses, all sorts of
Ooh,
things with no front teeth, but I was still wearing a suit, like, which I was like, "Why am I wearing a suit when I don't even have one?"
right.
Like, you know,
That
I'll wear a
like,
suit right now.
I totally forgot that, man. Wow. He gave you shit for that. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
I was like, "This should have been the time I don't need to wear a suit." Like, I just kinda look it looks ridiculous. I remember sitting on the bus, intentionally, like, smiling at people just to make them uncomfortable so they wouldn't wanna look and, stare at the
That
mockery that was my face at that time. Maybe still is, who knows? Um, but
that was funny. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot that, man. Yeah, that was terrible the way it happened.
it was funny,
You just roll on, but yeah,
just looking pretty gnarly. But we were in suits, man,
finished
and
the game though. Shit.
I did, I came back in and played. Came back in, I mean, they were already gone. What is it gonna matter at this point? Might as well finish it out. So, that was my loving of the game. I like competing, I think if we were to have a candid conversation with Coach Stewart, right, and look at the way that he handled you, he let you be you, right? And a lot of us fell in line. I think others didn't necessarily find either the appropriate power dynamic or whatever you want to, refer to between the coach player relationship to be ourselves until probably my senior year is where he and I had that same relationship, but it took kind of till my senior year. Like, I was wired to compete. At the end of the day, like, all I cared about was winning. So, to me, playing in the games, that was the reward for everything. Like, everything that we did in between was the grind just to be able to play games.
Right.
And that's where I think you and I always clicked. Once it was time to go play against somebody else, it's like just turn the page and let's go hoop. When you think about your Davis career as a whole, and you're in a lot of the record books, you again just a guy that played consistently, put buckets in, and did your thing. What was kind of your takeaway there? And then we'll pivot on to your pro career after you finished up at Davis.
I mean, I really enjoyed my time at UC Davis. I was very happy once I found out that they're planning on going D1. I was just over the moon about that because it, the challenges that would be presented, as well as I always felt I was D1. And then there were certain players on the team at the time where I felt like, I don't know what you're doing here. Namely Dominic Caloric. Like he was a hooper, like
He's
straight
a
up.
beast. Yep.
And like he's one of the coolest dudes, like period. I really enjoy playing with him, man. The one thing that I wish, that I might have done differently as a freshman coming in, they were very used to redshirting freshmen. And for me, I was like, nah, you should, I don't want a redshirt, man. Just try me out. And there's a certain amount of games you could play before you can be like, all right, never mind. And then you can still keep that year. Unfortunately, and it's not Brian Fogel was a coach there. It's not his fault, but I just wish the guidance was there a little more like at my neck. Stewart was more so on my neck about things. Um, because that freshman year, as I was getting used to the academics over there, and it was quarter system, so didn't realize how fast that was, and I hit a wall, and I became ineligible for the second part of the season. I missed out on like 20 games or so, so I lost that whole year. When maybe he could have seen that earlier, like if they, how coaches are really in tune.
Mhm.
They would have been following like, all right, yo, we're gonna shut you down. Cool for him. The following year, I redshirted the entire season. But I just wish that year could have been it, just so that I have more time to grow on the court as well. But besides that, being able that the time that we were, I don't know if it was just Coach Stewart, but there's another coach that the team interviewed before we made our vote. Uh, where everybody kind of chimed in and said what we thought was needed, et cetera. And I don't know how they ended up getting Stewart, but that was cool. And my number one thing for the team was at the time we were sponsored by Reebok. And I was like, if they're not Allen Iversons, right? Because the Iversons were comfortable, they're not those. So I was like, there's no way we could be doing Reebok anymore here. I was like, yo, we need to feel comfortable as players. We need to get better equipment. Can we get Nike? Can you get us Nike? I want to say I might have asked somebody. Might have been Stewart.
Stewart and probably I think it was Coach. I think it might have been Coach Reveno, who was at Stanford at the time. I think if my
Okay.
memory is correct. It's been a long time, but I think that was it.
Yeah, because it was like we just as players, as we work hard, we want to feel right, look right on the court. We want to look like hoopers. We weren't getting that in the past, to the point where I found Nikes that look like Reeboks, and I told Fogel, I'm wearing these. And Fogel was like, all right, just make sure that there's no big ass Nike sign on it. Cool. That's all you got to say.
This is
Found
what I love about you. Like this is like there's just one story after another of Fowzi having the rules and Fowzi being able to facilitate Fowzi doing Fowzi, and none of us, like not us, I couldn't, I guarantee there's not a single guy on our team that begrudged you or felt like you were bucking the trend because we knew what you were about and we knew you were going to show up and hoop, and you just were not about arbitrary rules. You just were not about rules that didn't get back to the game of hoop, which I think is funny. And I think it's a funny emphasis of our conversation is just the way people think differently, right? And the way they were, what their motivations are, what their upbringing is. I would have never had the mindset to go and buck the trend to fix issues. I would have felt the same way. I would have had the same thoughts, but I would have just, you know, fallen in line and figured it out, which is one of the reasons why I think it's so funny because for those of us that wanted to do the same thing, you always had the courage to do it. You always had the clout to do it. which I thought was always really cool. It's funny to hear you say that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just I was trying to look out for us, man. We gotta look fresh. We gotta play play comfortable. And being with Nike like since junior high with the AAU and my high school team, uh, I was just like, man, they take care of you. You get the bags, you get if your shoes messed up, you get more pairs. Like, don't worry about it. It's just like they take care of you. We want to feel like we don't have to worry about that. And when they brought it, it felt great. And then they brought it again for D1. We got the backpacks, we had the luggage, we had the this, we had the that. We're feeling like cool. You know what I mean? It was just, and the shoes were comfortable. Like, and on top of that, like it gives you an opportunity that if you do have another shoe that you rather are more comfortable wearing that is Nike, you can wear it. And 90% is like Nike at
Hmm.
that time. Now it's like everybody, Puma and
Yeah.
New Balance and everybody else. But back then it was like if you with Nike, they looking at you like, oh, you got a Nike sponsor over there, you know?
It's funny with what you're saying, Fouls. You know, you're throwing back to me. So when I came from Fresno State, we had endless gear, right? We were with and one, but the number of shoes that I acquired, I could go in every week and get a pair of shoes. Just they were
Mhm.
there. Now, I looked ridiculous when I was wearing like triple X's at my size when I look back. Like I was wearing way
The
too
time,
big a jersey. But when we were at Davis, your junior year, my sophomore year, we had the uniforms that were already there and they were too small. And I remember being so uncomfortable that whole year because the shorts were too short. They didn't even cover my compression shorts and the jersey was too tight. And then when we got the Nike ones the next year, certainly they fit better and it was a relief. But that whole first year, it was really uncomfortable for me because I just went from wearing triple X's to these shorts that feel like they are, you know, literally
supposed to.
underwear.
Yeah.
Like they're underwear. And I did not vibe with that. Talk about feeling good. I never felt like cool walking out in my uniform that year. Dude, this is not my white compression shorts are showing out from underneath my blue shorts. Like, so
Yeah,
that's
man.
kind of
They
funny.
were they were old school, man. I was always
Times
looking for
changed.
the biggest, size that they had.
You probably took the shorts that I should have been wearing now that I think about
Awesome.
it.
Yeah, they were tight then.
Yeah, that's funny. So then after we finished playing, man, you went on to play overseas. You played in several countries. One, obviously, where you were born, Saudi Arabia, and then playing in multiple countries. So talk a little bit about your pro career.
Finland was fun. I've never been to Europe at that time, and it was winter, so I've never felt that type of cold before. But over there, basketball is great, and they got a very big fan base over there for basketball, and there's a lot of their own homegrown talent as well, from what I saw already out there, as well as the other Americans, obviously, whoever we was facing every night. Um, so that was a lot of fun. Being professional was new. Um, they took care of everything, which was like, you know, just lovely. Like you don't pay for rent, don't pay for your phone, don't pay for car service, whatever. Just collect your check and let's win some ball games. Um, and so that part of it was fun. I didn't feel any pressure until there was like a couple of games that we lost that we should have won. They were close. And then the GM, who was young at the time, he just wanted results versus knowing what basketball is and how it's like. Uh, and so I started to see tension with him, like just him getting nervous. Like, hey, you know, you got to win this game. You hear the little slice he was saying, even though he could barely speak English. But I was like, you act like we're not trying, like we're trying to win here. And then it's like, oh, because you may replace players, you may get rid of. Well, okay, I see. So that part of it too was a little shocking to me at that point. But besides that, I had fun in Finland, and then when I went to Qatar, Qatar was great. I mean, the competition was solid there. It's just the fan base isn't huge, but the country is rich and it's beautiful. Uh, it's quiet, like
Really?
so clean. And all the food was clean too. Like it was just so nice. Everything taken care of. Just go here, go there, go back home, go relax. Like, you want to fly over to this country for a weekend, come back for practice, go. It's like, man, this Qatar was, uh, Saudi Arabia was different. I haven't been there honestly since I was born and everything, but I don't want to say it was culture shock because I knew it, from my culture, but seeing it at that age was kind of like, whoa, like it's
Had
really
you
that
been back at any point since the time you moved over? That was your first time going back?
big. So I was like, damn, very quiet city again. All the big cities were, busy. You got your beautiful roads where there's all the rich stuff and residential compounds, huge as hell. Bunch of them we went to. The gymnasiums are beautiful. Um, it was from what I was hearing, you know what I mean, how it was in that part of the country. It was a little. I was like, yeah, I knew there was, you know what I mean, in my head. I was like, things happening out here. Ain't nobody trying to do anything out here. No guns anywhere. It was peaceful as a hell out there. So like it was beautiful, man. There was one trip I took with the American that I was with. We went out to the desert, spent the night at the desert, with these other gentlemen who were like desert like gangsters, you know what I mean? Um, made food out there, everything. Like it was so like serene, quiet. It was like nothing I've ever imagined, man, at that age. I was just like, damn, this is so dope. I never thought besides the deserts and all this, people saying we bomb this and we bomb that. It was just like, oh man, I mean, I know people have their own look at it or whatever, but it's like, and I know it took years. Now people are like, yeah, it's not really like that out there, guys. Keep it real. But just back then, because of how close it was, 2001, that that was still kind of the rumor, the belief.
That was really close. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
There was a obvious that's a kinda hits on what I was talking about with Noel Felix last episode, right? We were in New York in '01 shortly after 9/11, and seeing the buildings and all that was really like a life-changing kind of experience to grasp what had happened. And we were talking about it because we talked back then, like, basketball brought us to so many incredibly unique places that we would have never traveled to without the game, right? You look I used to look at all the states that I had been in by the time I finished playing. I've been to more states and more cities than the average person by the time I was 22 years old, and more countries and all these things. It was always basketball that brought me, and I was always grateful for the fact that, like, man, this will probably be the most I'll travel my whole life. But it's the things that you learn by going these places that really help shape a big part of your worldview that a lot of people that don't travel don't get that opportunity, right? To get the experience, to get another perspective, right? And for someone like myself who never went over there, I can't wrap my head around what your
Mm.
experience was because I never got to go experience it. So I think it's really cool, like what you're touching on, right? It's like this idea that at the end of the day, there's always a middle perspective. And unless you get a chance to see it for yourself, you never really know how to completely internalize it and make it your own. And Qatar is another, obviously place. Finland, that's one of the places I had an opportunity to go play at the end of my senior year. And Norway, and I was burnt on basketball. I think I just had enough, and I wanted to play
Wow.
baseball. Uh, you know, I was tired of running suicides and other things. I just wanted to have some fun and play baseball. But like, to hear you describe it, I think it's really, really cool. So, how long did you play before you hung them up? And I've always known you're a creative. Always knew you liked writing, and that was always a part of your persona and your kind of introverted, like cool fuzz personality that we all knew. Um, so, were you writing leading into the career you're in now while you were playing? And what was the kind of progression to becoming ready to hang up the shoes and pick up the pen full time?
It was because I had all that downtime between games and practices overseas. I hooped for about 4 years. So I had a lot of downtime in between those games. And it started just the business of basketball. Um, I was just like, man, you really got to have somebody that like can really sell you, and you really have to commit to like bouncing around because there's no like 5-year contracts out there. I almost got my Saudi passport because I wasn't living there as a resident, etc. And I became an American citizen. I haven't been one, so I applied. There was some sort of technicality that said, you haven't lived here for 5 years or more. And I'm like, you're
Hmm.
kidding me. That's it. But then they knew that I was a hooper and that I could provide a lot of, you know, just to a team out there, one of the heavily popular teams. And I was like, this would be me staying here and just hope, like, period. And when they said no, I was like, all right. I went back to Qatar, and then at that point, I was like, all right, I got to think about something else, man, because I just don't like this non-consistent kind of vibe here. So I started toying with the idea of just, getting creative, writing. I remember telling a story. I'm hoping that they see this, but Dominic Calori and Danny Workman and I were on the road. We are by a pool at some hotel that we're staying at. We're just chopping it up, talking about stuff, and then went into movies. While they were talking about these movies, I was like, I have an idea for a movie. And then I told them something about I pinned some character uh, to have like a very difficult decision, and either way, the person would lose. Um, but the person would save them both as well, or something like that. Um, and they're like, "Damn, man, that's a good ass idea. That's a pretty cool movie, man. I watched that." And I kind of stuck a little bit back there, and so I kind of went back to that story then, and couldn't remember it all the way. But it was like, all right, I think I got something. Let me just start reading all these script writing books, and let me see how tough it is really to get back in. And that's ain't easy to get into. So I wrote my first script while I was out in Dubai. I stayed with my family out there for almost a year after hooping. And I was just like, yeah, that was a good first one. I don't think I'm gonna have anybody read this. But that was a nice try. Like this was my first go. This is what it takes, etc. Went back home to LA, and this is one of the reasons why I feel like I was supposed to be a hooper. Is going to the gyms out here. You'll be surprised who ends up being out there hooping with you, from executives to actors to producers to you just don't know till you spark up that conversation. A lot of time because I'm introverted, I'm just like, I'm just happy everybody's here to hoop, good game, everybody. But because I'm special at what I do, it kind of they eye me on that way.
Yep.
They're like, yo, man, where you play at? So when they spark it, that's when I'm like, all right, I did this, that, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, all right. I'm a producer, I do this, that. So I don't jump on them right away. Oh, I'm trying to do this. But the warm up starts to where I have these crazy relationships that if I was not a good basketball player and just an introvert, period, I would have never met these people. And so that it was literally basketball that got me to where I'm at right now, which is
That's
wild.
that's real. It's actually really cool to hear you describe it because that and it totally fits the fouls that I know. I can remember shortly after you graduated, as you were finishing your career, literally connecting with guys throughout my work life that would be like, "Yeah, I was just playing with this dude Fowzi in LA." Like, I would come across people that I would have come across in my work world that had played hoop with you, and me and a bunch of guys that we all played with at Davis, like, "That's Fowzi," like, always in the gym, always hooping. But the way you describe it, and it makes sense, the game of basketball and sports in general is a great vehicle for people to network and connect and a great way
Mhm.
to create interest. I've had the same thing most of my life. The fact that I played both baseball and basketball, played Division 1 of both, played
Mhm.
for obviously a lot of coaches, including a legend in Jerry Tarkanian, like, and those things make you interesting to a lot of people to start a conversation, which does open doors and allows you to gather, the attention enough to gain interest in a potential networking opportunity, which is great. Not everybody has that. And so you got to use the thing. Plus, it's your comfort zone, right? You excel at it. So it's a very comfortable talking sports, talking hoop. So it's cool. And I would imagine there's a lot of people down in the Hollywood area that they talk about musicians want to be hoopers and hoopers want to be musicians and that whole
Right.
world. And so you're not going the musician route, but you're in the world where there's a lot of that. So are there some individuals that you've met that were more household names or people that you came across where you had a moment of being quote unquote not starstruck, but like, wow, I can't believe I just met this person through the game. Has that ever happened to you in that whole process?
Yeah, it has. There was somebody that I was super with at the gym for quite a while who was in the entertainment industry. He went by D the Dragon, a really cool cat. He knew somebody that knew F. Gary Gray, which is the director of Friday, Straight Outta Compton, Fast Furious, Italian Job, all that.
Some major movies
There
there.
was some big dude. So there was an opportunity that was coming up where he was trying to film something and he was looking for a writer. So to test them, to test the writers or whatever, he wanted us to like write a short, some short film story. Dragon gave me the information and I ended up introducing myself. And sure enough, like Gary like responded like, yeah, I need this. You let me know. And then I was on it. I got on it quick and showed him like 2 days later. He was like, wow, that was pretty quick. And then what he read, he was like, okay, I see where you're coming from. You got a raw sound about you. I wasn't, honed yet. I wasn't classically trained or whatever. I was just reading a bunch of scripts to really learn the craft. And so he was like, all right, man, I'm gonna go with you. So about a week or two goes by, and he was gonna pay me to write this shit too. So I'm already like getting paid, right, writing the script of some kind. And so he like a week or two later sends me his address. I'm like, meet me here. We're gonna workshop. We're gonna go through this. We go back and forth. Actually, he didn't. His receptionist, or whatever, his assistant, send me everything.
His people.
His people send me everything. I'm like, all right, be here by this time. Dot. Expect to be here all day. Da da da. So I'm driving all the way to Thousand Oaks. He lives somewhere in some hills. After the gate opens, I'm still driving for a minute, and then parking it. Walk in, I meet this dude for the first time. I'm like, dang, like just like for me. And then we conversed a little bit. He was like, "Oh, you hoop, huh? You got all that?" Because I saw he had a basketball court outside. So yeah, initially I already was. I knew I had to be a little bit more open. I couldn't be that introvert no more at this point because it's like you can't be.
Couldn't be mean mug fouls. You had to
Nah.
put the smile on and do your thing.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you don't want to do that. Like I was already talking to him, like you don't want. Let's just start working on the script stuff. And so I go inside, beautiful home, and it was that moment where I was just like if I didn't know homeboy and I didn't like really push to get that little short script out to him, I would not be here. And so for him, he was hard too. Like he was tough on me, which I liked because he saw the rookie and he was like, I can see where you can get better at this. He gave me
Mhm.
better books to read about screenwriting. And then he literally broke me down, built me right back up. And like ever since I spent almost a year with him, it was just like, damn, like, I see everything completely different. And we were supposed to continue working on the script that I was doing with him, but Straight Outta Compton came. Like I read Straight Outta Compton, the script like 6 months, 7 months before it was even started filming. And I read and then I saw that he had to like audition for the job, which I didn't understand either as a director. He was like, "Yo, check out this video I put together for this film I want to do." And he put all these dope images together. I was like, "What is this?" So I learned that part, these little teasers to amplify the producers or whatever to want to select you. whatnot in Eurovision. So I was like, man, this is dope. I'm watching it in his big ass theater. I'm like, yeah, this is nice, man. And I think later on I found out he got it, and I read the script. I gave him notes. I was like, this sounds cheesy. It's like no disrespect. It was a white woman that wrote it, and I told him it's like there's the N word is gonna have to feel more natural when it's said. And I know it's gonna be all over this film if you want it to be real. Like, and he was like, "Yeah, I understand." It's like it sounds a little soft, and straight. There's nothing soft about Straight Outta Compton. So he
Hmm.
loved the notes, and after he got it done, he was gonna bring me on as the as one of the assistant writers, but I was not union yet, and
Mm.
I need to have credits. And he was like, "If I bring you on as you are now, there's gonna be fines that we have to pay." And we can't. And so with that moment right there, I was like, I could have been there already, but at the same time, I don't even think I was really completely ready. That
Hmm.
really would have just been overwhelming. And had it really gone bad for me, I mean, the industry is small. Like your name would get around. Be like, you get on this. Don't choose him. Just
Hmm.
go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So, but that was like the moment where I was like, all right, somebody who's really in it kind of looked at me and was like, yo, you could really be in this. But
Open the doors.
you need to kind of do your time before you get here. Like, all right. So after he left, I mean, after he did Straight Outta Compton, he was getting movie after movie after movie after that. But at that point, I went to the most expensive school and got paid for it. Since I learned it right there, that the writing from that point excelled.
Hmm.
So
And he,
that was that was that. Wow, I'm right here. Nobody would.
yeah, you're in that moment, and he was, you know, well, the way you describe it sounds like, what we all want, right? When someone that is in a position that is able to help you pursue your dream, right? Whether that's basketball, any sport, any dance, whatever. In your case, getting into Hollywood as a screenwriter, getting into Hollywood to be a creative and do the things you want to do, and he's holding an opportunity. One, that the fact that he opened that door, and then also the fact that he was looking to help make you better by being honest with you, right? Like challenging you,
Mhm.
which you can take that when you're like, "Hey, you're going to help me with this. Like this is going to help me. So I don't want you to tell me what I want to hear. I need you to tell me
Right.
what I need to hear so that I can get better." Those are people we value in our lives, the people we call mentors that we look at as leaders that create a bigger opportunity, but also resonate with us beyond. And I think for most of us, right, it turns into, as you get to further down the line, what he did for you, I'm sure will become a thing that you look to do for others when you're in a position to do it, right? Because of now you know how that affected you, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's plenty
So
of
what are
those.
you up to now?
Just setting up projects, man. After having a really busy ass 22, 23 got shut because of the strikes.
That's what I was
Uh,
going to ask
so
you. So you and I were talking during that time, and
yeah.
so what was that like in the middle of that? You guys, you know, not being able to work, being limited. Summarize being in that world from your
Mhm.
perspective and how that affected you as a guy with other aspirations and career to pursue and income to earn and all that. That had to have been a frustrating and challenging time to navigate.
Yeah, it was. Because up until that point, from 2020, even with the pandemic, well, right before 2020, like late 2019, I did this short film catching up with a couple of good friends of mine and a group of great crew that we knocked out the park, won the festival, won a Bronze Lens Film Festival, and was selected to many others. To where that kind of started to bubble real quick. So when that was happening, I was like, all right, it's just about to go. We about to go with this. Uh, Pandemic really got shut down. Award season came around August for all that stuff. and the rest of that year. Um, so all I was doing was writing. Hit 2021, hit the ground running in January, going out to Miami, shooting a film with a friend of mine. His name is Sean Hardy, great writer, great director, um, former NFL guy. Uh, he saw that I was hungry. He saw my stuff. He was like, "Yo, we do the same thing. Jump on. I'll have you be a second AD. Learn the position," is what he was like, because this position is very important. I'm gonna bump you up to first AD when ready. Later on that year in the summer, 2021, bumped me up to first AD. Did a series for Players TV. Chris Paul and all these like great athletes who are like sharks, who are like Shark Tank, but with athletes. So that was great. Then there's another project as well into later in 2021. Then 2022, the entire year pretty much was with Deshaun. We did 2 or 3 movies, a series, and a bunch of stuff. So I was like, man, yo, we going. But this is me as like a first AD. Um, kind of scheduling, making sure everybody works right, making sure all the energies are cool, no one's fighting, etc. And now it became a point where it's like, all right, now I gotta go. I gotta get going. I need to start directing again. Um, and then I did the other short called Live With It, which was great. It was different. It was hood, but it was fun to shoot. Great people was on there too. Jeffrey L. Ralph, a good friend of mine, produced that. And then when I felt like, all right, we're really gonna go, that happened with the writer's strike. So, but I respect it because what they're asking for makes sense. And then with everything
Mhm.
that's going on with AI, it's like, uh, it just makes sense. Like, and I'm with them all the way. So the entire year was effed up, man. It was just very slow, period. If you had, there's some ways people were able to still work because projects were still going. But beyond that, like if you're trying to do something new, it's not happening. So the one thing that I felt like I had to do since I had all that free time was write because I didn't have a lot of free time the past few years for me to get back to writing. So I was able to do so and got back to a story that my mom's true story, how she escaped war torn countries, whatever, and had me in Saudi Arabia. It's a huge story that now is gaining some traction with some people who are taking a look at it and wanting to produce it and stuff like that. So I tried to make 2023 as positive as possible. My wife and I got pregnant. Um, so that was cool. But besides that, it was just hella slow. And I was just writing all year. So I wrote a couple of scripts and a couple of those projects are being looked at right now to get produced, biopics. Since then, this year, I did 2 films. Soon as the strike ended, my guys were like ready to go to it. So we did a film in February, March. Then we did one in April, May. And so now we're just trying to go on to the next one. Happy to be home though, for the time being before I go away for quite some time. Because I have mentioned all of this is in Atlanta for the most part.
I was
Uh,
just gonna say, I know where you've been doing that is out in the
yeah,
ATL, so that's
yeah,
away from home and new baby and wife at home, so that's another dynamic that you touched on with as far as basketball and not continuing with the travel, but that's obviously, got its own challenges and
yeah,
navigating that, but I'm sure there was a backlog of work for everyone like yourself, so there's probably a lot of projects that people are lined up ready to, get ripping on based on that lag, so
absolutely. Just some in September already to talking to me about September to end of the year, going into the next year. It's just going to be back to back to back. And this is outside of projects I want to direct, which is my mom's biopic and another solid biopic of my cousin-in-law, Mutsal. It's called Life is Raw. His story is wild as well, but I need to be on set for that one. So it's like I may have an issue of, having to pick and choose what I want, but I guess, it's just a good problem to have. It's just nice to get back to it um, at some point because that's my basketball for now. I mean, as much as I like to go down to the gym now to hoop or whatever, it's just not not the same.
Baby girl not gonna allow that anymore, man. That's gonna be
No,
baby.
that too. It's like my wife ain't going with that flyer. It's like, how long? Oh, for real, you want to go hoop? Especially when she's like, she really wants to go to the gym too. So it's just like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna sit here.
Yep, that's
We
what
just
that's what
go.
they talk about the new daddy weight, right? You're not in the gym, not doing stuff
Yeah,
when
man.
yep, real talk,
Terrible.
but
It's terrible, but it's fun, man. I'm enjoying it. But I can't wait till everything kind of evens out, and then we'll get back to it. Um,
that's awesome. Well, I'm, super proud of what you're doing, man, and I know you were grinding, and we it was fun connecting and you having the time for us to talk during the downtime because we've been chasing our tails in life for a while, but,
yeah,
uh, I'm looking forward. I know we're talking about and working on a project that I can't wait to get to and be able to release,
yeah.
news of that gets going. Actually, some more headway on that coming, and
Oh, good, man.
perfect for me and you, and your background and big part of life, and what a lot with this show, right? Like hoops, sports, the network, the connections, the relationships, and really just understanding how to translate a lot of the stuff we all just kind of took from our careers into being professionals, being
Yeah.
leaders, being coaches, being fathers, parents. There's all these connections. I was so looking forward to this episode because listening to you break down your stories really hits on the idea that you've always been the talented guy that's marched to the beat of his own drum in his own way, and had the ability to buck the trends in certain ways like we talked about. And I've always loved that persona because I think a lot of times that can be misrepresented, and I think it's like really cool to have us have a chance to talk about it and have you break down some of those and just connect because you were the kind of personality that I think more coaches need to understand and more leaders need to understand that some of your people just they operate a little differently than maybe what it is. And if you can figure out how to make that work within them to get the most out of them,
Right.
that's what your job is as a leader.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
it's fun to hear.
I mean, that's yeah, I mean, it's like you said, like it's a little bit of that came from high school too, though, because I wasn't completely not taken away from from my squad. It was a choice I made to kind of fall back and just be the traditional point guard. Had I stepped up and really been what I was, and they saw me playing AAU, you know, I probably could have helped the team a lot more, to be honest. But I was more so, everybody else. Like let's get everybody else popping. And so when I got recruited to Davis, I was more so the like guard, the shooting
The
guard
guy.
guy, the score and stuff. So when I got that, it was just like, all right, now I'm kind of like they know what it is. Like I don't have to prove nothing. This is what I'm going to come and do. And if they respect that and I respect them, if I have an issue, I could just come and tell them like, hey, I don't think we're getting better. Can you change some of these workouts? Can you get us in some spinning classes? Can we do some yoga? Change it up a little bit, man, because basketball's changing. So um so it's kind of cool that that you receive it because I don't know that you guys are reacting this way at all. It's just more so I just want to a lot of it is like I want to look out for my team as well as um sometimes just coaches just need to know like, hey, chill.
Yeah,
Like,
you had confidence. Like we saw it as just you had the confidence to say the things that many just didn't, right? Like you were settled, you were established.
thanks, man. And before I tell you all that, uh it was just a small little ass earthquake.
You guys
Uh,
just had an earthquake.
just a little ass earthquake, man.
That wasn't just baby crying in the background, just like baby
Oh,
just
man. I was just like, man, what? It was just shaking. Yeah,
you just
yeah.
had an earthquake, huh?
Los Angeles, right? Um,
LA. LA, baby.
so
Wow.
yeah, it was just hella random. It was not. It was a soft little like sway, and I was looking at the curtains over here, like, yep. So, yep, earthquake.
Wow.
Um,
That's a first on the pod. There we go.
yeah.
Earthquake mid episode. All right.
Oh, short films
Yeah.
catching up with my guys, Thomas Q. Jones, Deji Leray, who are doing great things. They got their own show called Johnson. They're doing great. as well as Brittany Carr, who's on there. She's doing awesome. The other short film is Live With It, which is a nice little drama, uh, visually visually nice as well. Um, films, you can catch some of the films I first AD'd on, like on BET Plus and BET movies like Under His Influence and What Lies Under the Tree. There's also a series that we did called I Got a Story to Tell that really did well in BET Plus. Right now it's on Tubi. 6 episodes are in it. I wrote episode 5. My guy Deshaun directed all that. That was a fun shoot. All those, it's an anthology series, so it's kind of all the episodes are wild. And then coming up, just have this movie did this first AD this year called Pray by Night. Great cast. We shot that out here, and it was super fun to shoot out here. And then we have another one that's coming out called War later this year, which was shot in Atlanta. Besides that, the projects I have coming up, the biopics, Life is Raw is under development right now. We're in talks, as well as my mom's biopic, 187 Miles, which I'll be directing. That we're in talks with a couple of production companies to try and get that going. That's gonna be entirely shot in Saudi Arabia. So it'll be fun to get back out there. And the film industry out there is starting to pop off because they're building all kinds of beautiful things out there that can mimic any part of the world almost. Besides that, I have a series of other projects that I kind of have to put shelf because, having to do other projects as first ADs and maybe even directing a couple of my guys' projects that they have coming up later this year. But, just trying to stay busy, trying to recoup what was lost in 2023 pretty much.
Well, we both on the grind, man. I know you're gonna do your thing on it, and
I
thanks
mean,
again
not
for
to
coming
mention
on,
our
brother.
yeah, not to mention our thing with once we get that squared away and we see what that's gonna look like. I mean, that's gonna be a nice goodie right there too for everybody.
Without a doubt. That'll be my foray into this space. Let you lead the way on that. So I love it. Well, thanks, bud, man. I know I got you here for a good minute, so appreciate you coming on again, my dude.
Thank you very much, man. I want to give you props on you doing what you're doing because it's hard to just get off, do this. The fact that you kept at it already. You got several episodes that are great. It was awesome to see all the old guys, hearing their stories, how they developed over the years as well. I think you're doing a phenomenal job, man. Just for somebody who's learning on the go, you seem like you're catching on pretty quick, Phil. So I'm very proud of what you're doing, man. Keep it up.
Appreciate you, my man. Those words mean a lot. I find my voice a little less stupid to listen to every episode, so that's
All
a good
right,
thing.
good. That's a start.
Love it. All right, brother.
All right, man. You take care.